motion to arrest a 19-year-old immigrant from Venezuela who attacked a 24-year-old resident of Toruń, Poland. The man has been charged with attempted murder, for which he faces life imprisonment. His brutal attack shocked the residents of Toruń. Among other things, they are demanding a decision to halt the construction of the Foreigners Integration Center and a guarantee that the city will not accept illegal immigrants. Toruń police received a report of an assault at around 1 a.m. on June 12th. They were alerted by a man who heard a woman's terrified scream coming from the park. It was his reaction that may have saved the 24-year-old's life. The man ran out of his apartment and scared off the attacker. At the same time, the officer on duty who received the alarm signal directed all available police patrols to the scene, even those outside Toruń. The police quickly began searching the city and after a short time apprehended the attacker. He turned out to be a 19-year-old immigrant from Venezuela. The man was apprehended by police officers a few streets away from the scene of the crime. He was intoxicated. At the time of his arrest, he had a blood alcohol level of over 1.2. The victim has extensive facial injuries and stab wounds and is in critical condition in a coma. The attacker stabbed the woman several times in the head, neck, and chest. He has already been charged with attempted murder. He faces life imprisonment. During the interrogation by the prosecutor, Migrant RS refused to comment on the charges against him and refused to provide explanations or answer questions. The prosecutor, considering the risk of the suspect fleeing and the severe punishment he faces, filed a motion with the district court in Toruń to place the suspect in temporary detention for a period of 3 months and ordered him to be brought before the court. The Venezuelan suspect is 19 years old, single, and unemployed. According to the findings so far, he has been in Poland since February. What he did shocked the residents of Toruń. The residents of our city are still in shock. All websites and newspapers are covering this topic. We are also waiting for information from the hospital because we know that the 24-year-old woman from Toruń is in serious condition and the descriptions that have appeared in the public sphere are dramatic. Residents blocked the podium at the Toruń City Hall in protest against plans to build an integration center for foreigners in the city. Let the government explain why they are doing this. Why are they doing this when we have been standing here for 2 hours and they are making us look like idiots who don't see what is going on? That you don't want to talk in front of us about the fact that a young girl was attacked. This is not politics. This is caring for the nation. Ultimately, the draft resolution on illegal migration was removed from the agenda of the Toruń City Council by the votes of the Civic Coalition councillors. Law and Justice councillors voted against silencing this topic. They provided us with the protocol from the vote on this matter because, as they say, residents have the right to know who did not want this debate. It is clear that this topic is important to many residents of our city and what happened during the session. We certainly do not want to sweep this topic under the rug, and we will return with an appeal at subsequent city council sessions until we succeed. Sławomir Mencen, a former candidate for the Polish presidency from the Confederation Party, who comes from Toruń, also expressed his opposition to illegal immigration. I live in Toruń with my wife, 2 daughters, and son. I strongly oppose immigration from culturally different countries, also to protect my girls from such a fate. Poland must be a safe place for Polish people. We will defend our daughters, wives, and sisters. We will not allow migration. We will not share the fate of Western Europe. Centers for the integration of foreigners are being established in 49 cities throughout Poland, despite the fact that illegal immigration has caused a sharp increase in crime and a decline in the sense of security in Western Europe, especially among women and children. What are you really afraid of? Are you afraid that someone who comes from another country has a different skin color, speaks with a different accent, will teach you how to cook using curry spices or cardamom, for example? Is that what you're afraid of? Your prejudices against foreigners are based on simple stereotypes. For you, a foreigner is someone who cannot tell the difference between kopytka and pierogi. Next year, a migration pact is set to come into force, on the basis of which illegal immigrants from Africa and Middle East will begin arriving in Poland en masse. A massive and devastating attack on Iran. Last night, the Israeli Air Force launched strikes on military targets and nuclear facilities. During the day-long bombing, key Iranian army commanders and scientists, who according to Tel Aviv were working on the production of atomic bombs, were killed. Tehran has announced bloody retaliation, not only against Israel, but also against the United States. The U.S. has assured that although it knew about the planned attack, it was not involved in any way. The awakening of the lion. This is the code name for the Israeli Air Force's operation against Iran. 200 bombers and multi-role fighters attacked several hundred targets across the country. The strike targeted radar and anti-aircraft installations, airports, and military bases. In addition, Iranian army commanders were eliminated. But above all, the installations where Iran was allegedly working on uranium enrichment and, according to Tel Aviv, the construction of an atomic bomb.
In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
Were destroyed. Israel's operation is being conducted in waves. After 3 night phases, further airstrikes were carried out during the day. This time, they mainly targeted airports from which the Iranian Air Force could take off. The IDF has been preparing for this operation for a long time and is fully capable of both defense and attack. The Chief of Staff is currently commanding the operation and conducting ongoing assessments with commanders on both the front lines and the home front. The IDF is ready to continue if necessary. Iran has already announced bloody retaliation. A red flag of vengeance has been hung on the mosque in Qom. Of course, the Iranian people and their officials will not remain silent in the face of this crime. The justified and decisive response of the Islamic Republic of Iran will make the enemy regret its foolish actions. Israel's operation, apart from the airstrikes, was based on extensive intelligence activities. Mossad units infiltrated Iran and destroyed Iranian anti-aircraft units on the ground. The elimination of the command and scientists involved in the nuclear program was planned with extraordinary precision. The bombs fell not so much on houses as on specific rooms where the targets were located. We are at a critical moment. If we miss this moment, we will not be able to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons that will threaten our existence. For the past year and a half, we have been dealing with Iran's proxies, but now we are dealing with the snake itself. Over many years, and especially in recent months, the Israel Defense Forces have built up unique intelligence and operational capabilities, both defensive and offensive, that allow us to effectively address the main challenges. It is unclear whether Iran will be capable of a massive response. Israel is preparing for retaliation. Hospitals have been put on alert. Airports have been closed. And according to unofficial information, Prime Minister Netanyahu has temporarily left the country. Citizens of Israel, I do not promise you success alone. The Iranian regime will try to attack us in response, and the absorption of the coming blows may be different from what we are used to. The army is prepared to defend the Israeli front, and I ask you to show personal, family, and community responsibility and to follow instructions. Iran's allies, primarily Russia and Turkey, condemned Israel's attack. For months, Iran has been supplying Moscow with weapons that Putin is using in attacks on Ukraine. Europe, on the other hand, is calling on Israel to exercise restraint. The Americans have said that although they were warned about the attacks, they did not take part in them themselves.
Well, it is obviously a rapidly evolving situation. And this was a unilateral action by Israel. So I think it is crucial for many allies, including the United States, to work as we speak to de-escalate. I know they're doing that. And I think that is now the first order of the day.
Washington, D.C. and Tel Aviv have been calling on Tehran for months to abandon its attempts to build a nuclear bomb. Despite this, according to the U.S. Pentagon, scientists have been enriching uranium to the levels needed for production. Donald Trump personally got involved in attempts to negotiate with Iran, but these have so far been unsuccessful. 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance. According to Israel's announcement, the campaign against Iran will continue as long as it poses a threat. On the other hand, Iran's announcements of bloody retaliation should be taken very seriously. Tehran has the capability to launch a massive missile attack that could overwhelm even Israel's legendary Iron Dome. India mourns after a plane crash in Ahmedabad. Authorities confirmed the deaths of over 290 people, with many injured still in hospitals. Only one passenger who was sitting in the rear of the aircraft survived the crash. Investigators have found some of the black boxes which will allow them to reconstruct the tragic course of the flight, which lasted several dozen seconds. These are the final moments of Air India Flight 171. Shortly after takeoff, the plane with 242 people on board crashed to the ground. Looking at these terrifying images, it's hard to believe that one of the passengers not only survived, but left the wreckage of the plane on his own. Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, a 38-year-old British man of Indian origin with scratches and minor bruises, was taken to the hospital. He had purchased seat 11A, considered uncomfortable, at the very back of the plane in economy class. But of all the passengers, he was the only one to survive. It all happened in the blink of an eye. I don't know how I managed to survive. I was sure I was going to die, but I opened my eyes and I found that I was alive. I saw many bodies of victims. I freed myself from my seat and got out. In total, more than 290 people have died. The plane crashed into a medical school cafeteria, killing nearly 50 people. The victims' loved ones are in despair. No one here can believe what has happened. My sister doesn't know yet that her son is dead. She called me and asked, "What about my child? Did he survive?" I told her that everything would be fine. What should I do? How can I tell her that her child is dead? Among the victims are entire families, such as a married couple of doctors with 3 children. We heard a huge explosion and then screams. We ran in that direction, but when we got there were only flames and thick smoke. Investigators have already found one of the black box components. The video recorder will help answer the questions of why the plane crashed to the ground a few dozen seconds after takeoff. It is known that the pilot managed to alert that the engines had lost thrust and the plane was not ascending.
From the images, we can get an idea of some of the things that the investigators are going to look at. One of which is, was the airplane properly configured for flight? Were the slats and flaps in the proper location? That is something that's on the flight data recorder.
The flight from Ahmedabad, India to London took off on time, and according to procedure, the weather was good, and the pilots did not report any malfunctions before takeoff. So what caused the tragedy 8 minutes after taxiing into the runway and several dozen seconds after takeoff?
Travel growth is extremely strong. People want to travel. There's absolutely no evidence that either airlines or the traveling public are avoiding any particular kind of jet at all. So I think, there's always the theoretical concern of
flight entertainment.
One of the passengers traveling on the same plane had recorded a video a few hours earlier showing the aircraft's technical problems. The air conditioning was not working, and it was impossible to call anyone from the crew. The passenger suggested that the Dreamliner was not in the best condition. The Indian Air Accident Investigation Board is also looking into the pilots. The captain had spent over 8,000 hours at the controls of this type of aircraft, and the first officer over 1,000. They were certainly not novices.
Fair and thorough investigation. We are not going to spare anyone. We are not going to leave any stone unturned. We'll do properly according to the protocol, and we are going to go to the depth of why this incident has happened.
Investigators must answer the question of what happened to Air India Flight 171. The answers are awaited primarily by the families of the victims, but also by millions of passengers around the world who want to feel safe when boarding a plane.